Fundamental update for 16th of November 2025. Welcome to another fundamental update video. In this channel, you know I drop fundamental updates every single weekend, preparing you for the week ahead, and I've explained to you all why it's important to know what is happening fundamentally. In as much as technicals is good for finding entries, fundamentals tells you the story behind those moves in the chart. And in this week, the main focus is based on economic data. I'll be explaining why. This is a chart on USD JPY, and I want to tell you for a fact, last week was, pretty much a slow week. Most of us in the academy made profits. Most of us couldn't even find much entry. I was among those who couldn't find much entry based on the kind of strategy I use. But let us go into this week, or what happened last week first of all, before we go over this week fundamentals. So last week we all started with GDP numbers coming out lower than expected. I want you to understand that the Bank of England, they are debating on another rate cut, and you all know what rate cut does to the currency. It makes the currency weak. So if investors are expecting a rate cut on a particular currency, that currency would be weak, right? Yes. And GBP has been coming out very, low currently because the economic data has been coming out weak. The GDP growth on GBP has been coming out weak. Employment data has been coming out weak. Inflation has been coming out weak. And this is giving the Bank of England more reason for them to cut interest rate on the currency pair GBP. You can see this is one of the economic data on GBP, and it came out red. There was a red folder on it. On Tuesday, we also had bank holiday on Euro, bank holiday on CAD, bank holiday on USD. I believe this was why most of these currencies were, giving very low volatility. Then back to GBP, right? You can see on Thursday, we still had GDP growth coming out weaker than expected. And what is GDP? GDP just stands for gross domestic product. That's this economic indicator that came out on GBP, and this just signifies that the growth of the British pound is coming out weaker than expected. This is giving more rooms for investors to remove their money from the currency, making the currency weak, because why? They're expecting interest rate cut by next month. But AUD, you can see AUD has been coming out pretty much positive. They had 42.2k increase on employment change, which means a lot of people were employed in this Australian economy, right? And we also had the unemployment rate coming out lower than expected, which means a lot of people too were employed. This is a good news for AUD. It's a good news for the Australian economy, and this is going to make the AUD strong. So if we should compare this to GBP AUD, we are going to see GBP AUD was selling last week. Beginning of the week, you can see this is where the week started. I would say this is where the week started, right? Yes, this is where it started. And you can see beginning of the week, GBP AUD was just selling massively. I told you all that if GBP should come out lower than expected, if the economic indicators should come out lower than expected, we would see a little bit of selling pressure on GBP AUD, and GBP economic data actually came out lower than expected. AUD was now strong, and that was what led to the massive sell-off at the beginning of the week. I think it was on Tuesday that the market actually started picking up strength, going higher, and I will explain why the market started going higher on Thursday, right? Because it was on Thursday we started seeing a little bit of bullish momentum on GBP AUD. I'll be explaining why. But for now, I want you all to understand that GBP was weak, AUD was strong, GBP AUD was selling. You can also see more on other currency pairs. So that is just simply what happened last week. And also, if we are looking at which other currency had economic data released, that was just it. US, we were expecting, inflation rate, which was CPI last week, but it was cancelled. It was on tentative. Why was it cancelled? Because of the government shutdown, the US government shutdown. But we have good news. The US government shutdown have been, called off due to the fact that Trump paid for, the strike that was going on, and this would allow all the economic data to be released finally. Now, this is a good news, right? But all of a sudden, a risk off kicked into the environment. Why? Because investors are saying, oh, since all these data on US, the employment rate, the inflation rate hasn't been released for 2 months straight, this might actually affect the economy if all this economic data starts coming out weaker than expected. So investors are feeling like, oh, since they haven't been released for a long period of time, they are going to come out weaker than expected. CPI is going to be coming out weak, inflation data is going to be weak, employment data is going to be weak. If all these things should come out weak, it's going to make the currency USD very, very weak, and this will give more room for a rate cut next month. And this led to a risk-off environment because investors were scared on behalf of the economic data not being released for up to 2 months. You understand? So this led to a risk-off environment, and we can see the chart over here. Let us look at this over here on USD JPY. You can see on Thursday, during the risk-off environment, JPY picked up strength, and we can see a massive sell-off on JPY, right? We can see a massive sell-off on JPY. So the currency pair was moving great, USD was pumping high, then all of a sudden we reached a risk-off environment. I actually gave the signal to my student, and we can see a very good sell-off on USD JPY. Why? Because JPY currency is known as a risk-off currency, which means it picks up strength during times of economic uncertainty. JPY itself, and JPY is known to be the quoted currency of USD JPY. So this is why USD JPY turned bearish. Why? Because JPY was strong once this news was released. And if you notice, dollar started dropping in value. Let us go over to DXY and see how DXY behaved to this news. You can see throughout the week we were seeing just a massive sell-off on dollar. Even though we're supposed to be seeing bullish momentum on dollar, we were seeing a massive sell-off on dollar. Why was there a massive sell-off? Well, there was a massive sell-off because of the investors were having, a negative thought based on the fact that all the economic data hasn't been released yet, and due to the fact that they have cancelled the US government shutdown, all this economic data will start coming out, and if it comes out negative, it's going to make the dollar purely negative. So this risk-off environment made investors start removing their money from DXY, and you can see dollar started dropping in value. But let us look at gold. Gold started pumping during the time of risk-off. I told you all gold is a commodity that pumps during times of risk-off. Once there is bad news or when there's expectation of bad news, you can see the massive pump to the upside. Then all of a sudden we had a little bit of good news on Friday, which led to this sell-off over here, and I'll be explaining why this sell-off happened. I will tell you all why it happened, but for the meantime we are still on a risk-off environment until economic data of US is being released. And if it's being released and it comes out positive, the risk-off will be cancelled, because this is not really a big risk-off, right? It's not really a big risk-off. So you can see this was gold pumping throughout the week. Gold was moving upward throughout the week. Then all of a sudden on Friday, we saw a massive sell-off on gold. Do you understand? So this upward movement was due to the fact that we were in a risk-off environment. Investors were scared that, dollar will be very weak if all the economic indicators come out this month, and this will result to another rate cut coming up. So let us look at the news event we have for this week. Now, first of all, I told you all we've cancelled the US shutdown have been cancelled. The US government shutdown have been cancelled. CPI, we're going to be having card CPI on Monday. We're going to be having US non-farm payroll on Thursday, 20th of the month, which is not even the first Friday of the month. You can see all these economic indicators are coming out at the wrong date. So this is why investors are having fear. They're having this feeling that, if these things come out, they are going to come out negative and it will affect the currency. So you can see we're having card CPI on Monday. Well, card is not really, the currency of focus. I told you all that card, economic data has been coming out throughout the last 2 months. It hasn't really been affected. The major focus of, the risk-off currency was due to the US government shutdown, so it affected USD the most. So card CPI will be coming out on Monday. You should be careful if you're trading any pair card, because it's going to be having high volatility on Monday. On Tuesday we don't have any important news. So far so on, we're not having any important news on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the important news we're going to be having is GBP CPI. Now, if British pound CPI comes out negative again, it means that British pound will keep on being weak. GBP AUD will keep on selling massively. Do you understand? Yes, we are in a risk-off environment. Yes, AUD usually weak during a risk-off environment, and that was why GBP AUD picked up a little bit of bullish momentum on Thursday, you know, towards the time in which the risk-off was declared. But I want to tell you for a fact, the risk-off is going to end very fast. The risk-off is not something that will last for a long time. Because why? The risk-off is just based on the fear that all the economic data that haven't been released so far in the previous 2 months are going to come out negative. Now, if Thursday data should come out and let's say it comes out positive, that risk-off is over. Even if it should come out negative, that risk-off too have like chances of still being over. Why? Because this thing is just an assumption from the investors saying, oh, all this economic data hasn't been coming out throughout this month. All of a sudden, it wants to come out this particular month, which is November. We don't know how it's going to be. What if they all come out negative? This will affect the dollar massively, right? So this is just an assumption from the investors. So the risk-off is not going to last for too long. Do you understand my point? So if CPI on GBP keep on coming out negative, this is going to make the currency pair GBP AUD keep on selling drastically. GBP JPY might actually start selling too as well. You might see a little bit of sell-off on, you know, GBP USD, but that also depends on USD data. You understand? Which we are going to be having on Thursday. Now, the non-farm payroll, the unemployment, you know, non-farm employment change, right? This is actually a very important data that comes out every first Friday of the month, but it has been pushed to the November 20th. Why? Due to the fact that the US government shutdown have been cancelled. And if this thing should come out negative, it's going to give more room for a selling pressure on DXY, because investors now will now say, oh, they were right. Negative data are going to be coming out on dollar. Do you understand? But if it should come out positive, dollar will actually be bullish. I told you all in our weekend classes that there's no how anybody can predict these numbers. So I cannot come and tell you for a fact that I know that the NFP is going to come out positive or the NFP is going to come out negative. Even the investors cannot predict this number. That is why we're having a risk-off right now, because they feel like it's going to come out negative. Do you understand? Even the investors cannot predict it. So I advise you, all those gurus, all those mentors you see online telling you, oh, NFP is going to sell, NFP is going to buy, please avoid it. You would lose your money in the long run. Even though sometimes they might be right, I'll tell you it's pure luck. You understand? The main purpose of fundamental analysis is for you to trade the rumors and sell the facts. So the rumors is what we are trading. The rumors, I can tell you for a fact, the rumors actually move the market. And I've made profits trading the rumors so far, so well. All these trades you see over here are trades from, you know, the rumor. You understand? All this trade I showed you over in this, you know, our 6 months training. I highlighted some of the trades I've taken based on fundamentals. All these are based on rumors. You can see all these are based on rumors. I made 2,400 pips trading economic uncertainty. You can see all these trades are based on rumors. I can tell you for a fact, rumors still move the market. So you don't have to be in the market the moment of the news release. Do you understand? And for those who are interested in learning our, you know, macro mastery class, you learn everything about fundamentals. You know what to do. You text me up, or you can click on the link in the description so you can know how you can get started. You understand? So that's it, just simply what I want to give you in this fundamental update. Never believe those who say, oh, they can predict NFP movement, or never believe those who say, oh, they can predict CPI movement. NFP is going to come out weak. NFP is going to... No, please don't fall for that. Do you understand? So that is just simply it. So let us keep going. Which other news is going to be important this week? Well, I think Friday we don't really have any important news. The flash manufacturing PMI is not really that important. Though it's important, but it's not really moved the market. So I've mentioned the ones that move the market, especially the non-farm payroll. So all eyes is going to be on the non-farm payroll this week. All eyes is going to be on the non-farm payroll. And if we come out negative, investors were right. Dollar will keep selling. If it comes out positive, the dollar would actually be buying. But based on rumor, which has already priced in, I'll tell you, rumors already priced in, so there's no need to trade in the rumor. Dollar, the investors are saying that, oh, the non-farm payroll is going to come out negative. So that is why you see dollar has actually been selling. If you look at it, based on rumor, the investors are saying that, oh, the dollar is going to come out, you know, negative. So that's why you see dollar has been selling based on rumor. So if the news should now come out on Thursday and be positive, you will see a huge spike to the upside. If it's negative, you might see a drop, you understand, below this key level. You get my point? So that is just what I want to leave you all with. So let us look at the chart analysis based on this news event. You can see dollar is at a key level. My advice is you should still be looking at a bullish momentum, because if that news should come out positive, this key level is going to hold. Based on technicals, dollar still look pretty much bullish. If the news should come out positive, dollar would actually give a pump from this upside. You understand? From this zone over here, from this key level. But for now, this key level is at neutral. We cannot call this a buy zone yet. It's at neutral. So let us look at GBP, JPY. GBP is weak, but JPY itself is still weak. If you should be counseling the, what they call it, the risk-off environment, JPY is still weak. The only thing that made JPY strong last week was due to the risk-off. But if the risk-off should be cancelled, JPY is weak. Why? Because the Senate president is still not in agreement with a rate hike on JPY. If they agree to the rate hike on JPY, JPY will actually pick up strength, and you might see a little bit of bullish momentum on JPY. So my advice for those who love trading GBP, JPY, stay away from this currency. It's going to be ranging for a period of long time, because GBP is weak, JPY is weak. That's my advice. Stay away from it. You understand? For Euro USD, you can see Euro USD have already started, pumping up. This is an upward movement based on investors, rumor. This is based on investors rumor. You can see market actually went very high based on investors rumor. And maybe if the NFP should come out, it will make Euro USD sell if dollar comes out positive. But if dollar should come out negative, we'll see more buying momentum. For now, I'm not really seeing much entry on Euro USD, and that should be it. For GBP AUD, I will tell you for a fact, if that risk-off environment should be cancelled, GBP AUD will actually start selling. That is a fact. GBP AUD will start selling. But for now, I'm not really seeing any good entry on this pair as well. I'm not really seeing any good entry. For USD JPY, I would say USD JPY is actually at the key level, but this key level is still at neutral until I see a good, confirmation at this zone before I'll say, oh, let's buy the pair. But for now, this is still at neutral. Maybe if market should return back to this level, right, and then give us a little bit of change of character, I can now start finding an entry to the upside from here, based on the fact that JPY is weak, and if dollar, NFP should come out positive, that is what I would do. You understand? So all eyes is going to be on the non-farm payroll data release. For CAD JPY, I think CAD JPY should be the same, right? If I'm not mistaken, CAD JPY and USD JPY, they actually look almost the same. CAD JPY, will I say, is at a key level? I don't really think this is really much a key level, but if we should draw this, count this in, yeah, it looks more like a key level. So I'm going to also be waiting for a confirmation, because this is still a neutral. You understand? I taught you all what a neutral key level is in the weekend classes. In case you don't have my WhatsApp contact, or you are missing out on the weekend classes, just click on the link in the description or join the Telegram channel so you wouldn't miss out on our weekend classes. Do you understand? So AUD JPY, let's see what AUD JPY looks like. AUD is supposed to be picking up strength and JPY is supposed to be weak. So this is actually a good currency to trade, based on the fact that AUD economic data is coming out positive. The CPI, the NFP, the growth on AUD is coming out positive. AUD is strong at the moment. And if the risk-off should be cancelled, AUD will see a little bit of strength from AUD. Actually, this pair is like something I might look at this week for a trading opportunity, maybe to buy from this zone, if possible, if I get a confirmation. So GBP USD last week did me dirty. I won't lie. This was my entry on GBP USD based on the rumors, and the markets came only to take me out before going all the way up. And I feel like even when this week should open, the market will actually keep going up based on investors rumor. Based on investors rumor, the market might actually keep going up. But I'm already out of the trade, and I wouldn't cry over spilled milk, even though the trade has already left me. I wouldn't come and start chasing it or finding entry. So that is just simply it. But if you are holding GBP USD, for some of my students, they actually caught this. If you are still holding, I suggest you should actually keep holding, because this is actually going to get to the top. USD CHF picks up strength during times of risk-off environment, and USD was weak during the time of risk-off. So USD CHF was actually a very, very good pair to focus on last week if you were selling, and you can see a good selling momentum. But I don't know for this week, if USD should come out positive, USD CHF would actually buy massively. AUD USD is actually another good pair for a possible buy, especially if USD should come out negative and AUD should keep being positive. This is actually a good pair to find a buy. You can see we are already at a key level. All these pairs at they are on a key level, but you don't buy aggressively on a key level. Why? Because of manipulation. You can see liquidity sweep at this key level. If you bought aggressively, markets would have taken you out. So you wait for a confirmation before going all the way to the top. If you don't get that confirmation, you leave the pair. You understand? So that is just simply it. I hope I explained everything in this weekend analysis. I hope this will help you make good trading decision this week. This week is going to be a profitable week. Last week was a slow one for me, but this week I'm sure I'm going to make a lot of profit from the market because I understand what is happening based on fundamentals, and my technicals are looking very, very clean. So with that being said, have a lovely day ahead and a profitable trading week.